Welcome to Chicago Bulls Chat with C-Red UK. This podcast is part of the Fans First Sports Network. Wherever or however you're listening, make sure to rate, review and subscribe. It helps us out and means you never miss another episode. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and leave some comments for us to get back to. And for all the C-Red UK action, check out the Discord channel and across the socials. Now, over to your hosts, Matt Hearn and Neil Dunn.
Welcome back. I'm Matt, and as always, joined by Neil. How are we doing, Neil?
Yeah, I'm okay. Bit tired, but you know the joys of staying up late watching wonderful basketball.
Yeah, obviously we were both up at 1 a.m. this morning, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then full days at work and real life, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Chicago Bulls and their affiliate, basically. And we'll start with their affiliate, Windy City. Windy City started their season on, was it Friday night, I want to say? Thursday night, maybe? I can't remember exactly. But
last week.
I think it was Thursday, maybe Friday, I don't know. Time zones, yeah. First game was both games was against Grand Rapids Gold, the affiliate of the Denver Nuggets, who have Bulls legend back, Andrew Funk. He's come back there, so
legend.
Good luck. Yeah, funky time. Opening game, the Windy City won 117-112, and then on Sunday, which was a more UK friendly tip, 8 p.m, they lost 121-124, and it was on a buzzer beater 3, which was quite. I missed the first half because I was out at ice hockey. I caught the second half and looked like Windy City were going to take it at the end, and then I think they miss a free throw, or they missed a 3, something like that, and then they called a timeout and advanced it, didn't they? And I can't remember his name. Is it Jim Pickett or someone? The commentators were raving about him anyway. It's the only name I kept hearing. Funny enough, I can't remember it now. But anyway, he hit the winner. And Windy City are in action again tonight. Midnight tip for us here. It's 6 p.m. in Chicago. And it's against Motor City Cruise, the affiliate of Detroit Pistons. And it's in Detroit, I think, if that's where they play the games. And yeah, I mean, obviously we are doing the two-way watch on Twitter and in the Discord, just basically highlighting the two-way players, obviously Sonogo, Stewart and Liddell. And yeah, DJ Stewart was on fire in the first game. And I think he's just a solid G League player, to be fair. I think that's pretty much where he's going to be. Sonogo, just, double dama. Obviously ended up getting some minutes last night, which we'll talk about in a bit. And I'm really intrigued by Liddell, to be honest. I liked what I've seen from him. I like what I saw him in pre-season. And I really wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being converted at some point to a full deal with Bulls before the end of the season. Obviously, if a trade happens or they decide to move on from, I don't know, Torrey Craig, for example, and they get that open roster spot, I can see him being the one that gets converted and possibly a new deal next year as well. I know you watched a little bit of the second game as well. Sort of
I did. I was kind of ducking in and out of it. It was an awkward time of the day for me to be watching it, but I enjoyed what I was watching, what I was seeing, and like you say, it's kind of nice to be able to pay a bit of attention to the guys that for well are going to be wearing a Bulls jersey as well as a Windy City jersey, and like yourself, I like Liddell, and I totally agree with you. DJ Stewart doesn't seem to be comfortable when he's playing for Bulls, but he seems to be totally in his comfort zone when he's playing for Windy City. he's like two different players really between the two teams. So I totally get why you're saying he's predominantly just a G League player, but he excels at that level. So it's interesting. It's kind of a bit like Carlick, isn't it? Remember Carlick Jones?
Yeah,
He was
G
brilliant
League
for the
MVP.
G League MVP. But he just couldn't seem to find his spot when it moved up to the big boy league.
Yeah, and obviously another player who is back with Windy City, JFL, Javon Freeman Liberty.
Yes,
he just excels at that level as well. Obviously,
yeah,
got some run in the NBA last year with Raptors, and I mean, if we weren't so guard heavy, he's another one that you could possibly see getting a full contract at some point with Bulls. But I think he's got more chance of getting picked up by somebody else again than Bulls, to be fair.
yeah.
So yeah, like I said, they are in action again tonight. I'll be on the socials tomorrow, the two-way watch, if you're interested. If not, then just check it out anyway. So on to the big boy Bulls, whatever you want to call them.
Yes,
real Bulls, Chicago Bulls. 4 games since we last spoke, and well, we gave our predictions at the end, and we got them right in terms of wins and losses. Obviously, lost to Mavs 119-99. Lost to Timberwolves on the second of the back-to-back 135-119. Beat Hawks on Saturday 125-113, and then lost last night to Cavs 119-113. And I mean, we're not going to do a deep dive into any of the games. We'll just highlight what we can remember more than anything. And like I say, we predicted them sort of them outcomes, not the results obviously, but the outcomes. And I think we kind of got what we expected. Maybe certainly in the first 3 games, I think we kind of expected to get heavily beat by Mavs, expected to get heavily beat by Timberwolves, but not in the fashion that we did. Because for most of the game we were with them, and then that fourth quarter, Anthony Edwards just said, "Nah, not having this." So just took over. We expected to beat Hawks, but we made it difficult by having to come back from 18 down, which is kind of Bulls thing at the minute. Standard. And then last night against Cavs, I think nobody kind of expected us to stick with them for as long as we did, and actually looked like we could beat them as well.
Yeah.
And I think what's been the difference in all of these games is the fact that Bulls don't have that guy.
Right.
You know, Mavs can go to Luka or Kyrie or I guess even Klay Thompson if they really wanted to. Obviously, Timberwolves went to Anthony Edwards. Hawks, obviously we beat them, and they've got nobody because Trae Young doesn't count. And then last night, obviously, it's Donovan Mitchell that takes over for Cavs. And you could kind of say Bulls have got Zach Lavine. But obviously, we didn't have him for Mavs and Timberwolves.
No.
And, I mean, before we get on to Zach, because we've had quite an interesting discussion about him today, which we'll bring to you now or in a bit. What's been your take from them 4 games? You know, what's stood out and what's stood out for the wrong reasons as well?
Well, the blatant, obvious elephant in the room is these deficits that they keep finding themselves in and then having to try and climb back out of. I mean, they're making it very, very difficult for themselves to stay in or win any kind of game at the moment. Apart from the Cavs game, like, you know, we said we'll get to in a few minutes, but the first 3 games, certainly, you know, you're starting off with a deficit of 15 to 20 points right out of the gate. That's almost impossible. You're setting yourself such a big challenge to then chase the game for the next 3 quarters. And it's just, like you say, we don't have that guy. Yes, I'm impressed with Zach and we're going to get into him. But I said last season, Zach just isn't that guy. He just isn't. he's being paid like he's that guy, but he isn't that guy. And we had DeMar that kind of cloaked it a little bit, and then obviously had to take over when Zach was out injured. But Zach doesn't have that extra level that he can maintain in the clutch. Yes, he's capable of it, and yes, he's capable of being clutch in a moment. But I don't think he's capable of taking over a game completely and putting it to bed. And for that reason, when you're going up against teams that do have those guys, you're always going to struggle, because as soon as they knock it into the next gear, the Bulls are left behind. They just don't have anyone to keep up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the one thing that stood out to me and stood out to everybody is the amount of turnovers. And it's the amount of turnover points from the turnovers that other teams are getting. Like, I think we outshoot Cavs from 3 last night, but they got like 35 points off turnovers.
35 points.
Whereas we got 11 points off turnovers, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it's like Billy Donovan said, we're playing with small margins and we can't afford to let a team do what Cavs did to us.
Right.
You know, same as in the Timberwolves game, it was we were beating them, weren't we? And we were obviously sticking with them for majority of it. But then you just let you let Anthony Edwards take over. He decides to take over. You don't let him take over, do you? Do you know what I mean?
No. Floor's yours.
And we've just got nobody that can match him. And obviously that's going to be a problem throughout the season, and especially with the way the defense is as well. And I mean, even the Hawks, the win over Hawks, and it's the same as the other wins that we've got, maybe Bucks aside, they've not been impressive wins. They've been like, obviously against Grizzlies coming back from 20 points, against Magic coming back from 20 points down.
Yeah.
Hawks, you know, they was on the second of a back-to-back, the same way we were against Timberwolves.
Yeah.
They've got a few injury problems. And are they really trying? Are they maybe quietly tanking, a bit like Bulls? Are they?
Well, it's Atlanta, and you've got to remember that it's Atlanta. And historically, they you know, you have to go back as far as Dominique Wilkins probably before they were really, really competitive.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, yeah, it looks like a decent victory. What was it, 12 points? And, you know, but I think, I don't know. I mean, I don't like Hawks anyway, just purely because of Trae Young. So any win over them is a good win. But, yeah, it's just, to me, the wins that we've got, they're not impressive. To me, last night's loss was a more impressive performance.
Yeah.
Because we actually looked like we could, apart from the turnovers, looked like we could play basketball. And is it the first half that all starters had double figure points? First time that's happened since like the 70s or something like that, I think was something I heard. It's just, I mean, we'll get into the individuals in a minute, but doesn't seem to be any consistency in the games. There's a lot of patchy, streaky sort of players, two in particular, which we were discussing earlier on. And you're just not going to win games convincingly with players turning up in dribs and drabs through the game.
Right.
And yeah, obviously the defense is just, I mean, it held its own for the majority last night against Cavs in particular.
Yeah, it did. I actually thought defensively we didn't look too bad for the majority of the game last night.
Especially in that third, and it was as I kept saying in the live thread, is we just need to score. We were stopping Cavs from scoring, but couldn't score ourselves. And I think we were we were up by 9 points at that point, and we just couldn't extend from 9 points. And then all of a sudden, Cavs get back into it, and they're like 6 points up in the end, and we just couldn't seem to. We just don't seem to have that guy as well. That, as you said before, that clutch guy. I mean, a lot's been made the fact that the last 2 games Giddey hasn't been on the court to close. It's been Ayo.
Mm-hmm.
People are obviously still banging on about Ayo starting instead of Giddey. And there's been a lot said about the rotations as well. I've heard, because he tends to be going to 11-man rotations, doesn't he?
Yeah, which is unusual for Billy compared to what we've seen in previous years.
Yeah, I mean, if you can call last night an 11-man rotation, because THT stepped on the floor and then pretty much stepped straight back off. Because
yeah, what did he get? 4 minutes even? Was it 4 minutes? 2 minutes?
I think it was that long.
Yeah, I can't remember. I know he was on and he kind of made 2 bad plays and then he was pretty much off again.
Yeah, and obviously last night missing Dalen Smith through illness, who's been on the injury report pretty much most of the season, hasn't he, really, so far, with knee soreness.
Sorry, I just looked there. Taylor Horton-Tucker got 59 seconds.
So not even a minute.
Not even a minute. Not even a minute.
I mean, it was...
Wow.
It was a bad minute as well, wasn't it?
It was a bad minute.
I mean, to be honest, I think I actually lost my feed at that point, so I didn't actually see him. I just know from following on Twitter as I was trying to get my feedback that he wasn't going to be on the court long. So,
yeah, no, I think he made one bad shot and turned the ball over, and then that was it. He was done.
He was getting Matas minutes, wasn't he? Yeah. So obviously missing Dalen Smith last night, and when it come out from, I think it was Casey Johnson that first said it, wasn't it, that he was questionable with this illness.
Yeah.
Our first sort of thing was roster construction.
Yeah.
And I mean, one player in particular who is increasing their trade value and has been probably the standout so far for Bulls is Nikola Vucevic.
Absolutely.
But how can Bulls trade him? Because we've got nobody. Well, I mean, you could maybe acquire another big...
Yeah, they'd need to be getting a centre back for him in whatever trade they do, because they have nobody else to slot in there.
No.
Do you know?
I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with Smith starting.
But who'd you put behind him? I mean, Sonogo is not a backup. He's a backup to a backup.
Yeah.
So who do you've got nobody else, and you?
I mean,
Pat at the 5 maybe.
That's what I was going to say. Knowing Billy, it'd be Pat and maybe Torrey Craig minutes, and you don't want to see either of them. To be fair,
no.
No. Obviously, teams around the league could start looking towards Bulls as for trades at the minute because, well, as we've been saying in the chat, there's a lot of players not playing.
There is a lot of injuries.
Level players. I know Pelicans have just had Alvarado go down as well today for 6 weeks or something, and I mean, I don't see
Alvarado.
I don't see Pelicans sort of looking for a trade because obviously at some point they are going to get players back and what have you. Obviously OKC
are in trouble at the 5.
But then they're going to get Chet back at some point, Hartenstein back at some point. So would they look at Vooch? Could they run with 3 of them?
They could very easily because, I mean, like, we don't know how long Holmgren's going to be out. I mean, that's a pretty devastating injury. It was the iliac bone of his hip or something. It's a pretty extensive break.
And he looked in pain when he went down as well, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when we saw them in Chicago, like, I couldn't get over how scrawny he actually looked in person. And I said it to Lexi, my daughter. I said to her, Jesus, I said, he's playing great, but I said, all it takes is one fall and he'll snap. And lo and behold, that's exactly what's happened to him. He's just
Well,
he's a very talented, very skilled player, but he's not physically built for the NBA yet. Anyway,
he missed his whole
and
rookie season as well, didn't he? With that,
he did. Yeah, he
was it
came
a
in and he
foot
was out
injury?
straight away. Yeah,
So he does seem like one of them players that could be plagued by injuries because of his,
yeah,
like you say, because of his stature and his build and stuff.
yeah. His frame is very, very slight.
I mean, obviously, if OKC were to be interested in Vooch, we might be able to get some picks out of them. Probably not, because Bulls.
Picks.
But obviously, I think if OKC were to be involved, it'd have to be a 3-team trade for us to acquire a big from somewhere, because, well, OKC haven't got it in themselves. Yeah. I think, did I see something that the starting big is injured, the backup big, the backup to the backup, and the backup to the backup to the backup are all out or something.
Wow. So who have they got playing at the 5 now? Caruso?
I think it was Williams, to be fair. But that's what I said yesterday, wasn't it? They've got Caruso, they don't need anybody else. But yeah, obviously, in terms of our sort of standout player from so far from the first 11 games, it is Vooch, innit?
Yeah,
obviously, we run our top 3 that other people vote on as well in the Discord, and he is running away with it. It was Zach to start with, then it was Giddey, and then that Vooch is just consistently getting votes, and it's massively helping him. And obviously, another player who we're hoping is building his trade value is Mr. Zach Lavine.
Yes.
And obviously, as we said earlier, we're having a discussion today, mainly to try and get other people involved as well, but it ended up just me and you ended up going back and forth for a lot of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I've said it to you before. For the most part, we do think very similarly about everything, but every now and then we don't agree on something, and it's good. It's healthy. It starts discussion, doesn't it?
It gives us something to talk about on here anyway.
Exactly.
And what started it was, obviously, we give out our bull of the game after we're doing it after every game now, not just after a win, because we'd have only given out 4 so far. But obviously, last night in the Discord on the live thread, the vote went to Zach, and I didn't actually put my vote in there because everyone else had gone for Zach already. So I was like, well, my vote don't change anything. I think I did that on Saturday as well, didn't I?
I don't know. I didn't notice actually. I knew you'd done it last night. I didn't notice on Saturday though.
Because we give it to Ayo on Saturday, didn't we?
Right.
And I didn't actually vote. And you asked me in the chat later on, who would I have gone for? And I'd said DT.
Yeah.
I think. But anyway. And I think it was Roberto on it that dropped in there in the chat today, or in the Discord today, that Coby was robbed of bull of the game last night, which obviously was given to Zach. And I could see his reasoning, because Coby was going to be my vote for it, but I just didn't get that far, so he's still got my vote anyway. And it led us to, well, you didn't even put Coby in your top 3, and I didn't even have Zach in my top 3.
Yeah.
And that's what led to our discussion, because how we'd seen it so different. And we've also seen the similarities in the two players, in the fact that they're streaky, the patchy, whatever you want to call it. And it's something that has been bugging me all season, and it's why Zach and Coby haven't particularly got my votes so far this season, because I want to see them do it for 4 quarters, not 5 minutes in quarter 4 or 10 minutes in quarter 2 or whatever it happens to be. Because they both seem to do it. They get hot for 5 minutes and they start the comeback, or they get us into the lead, whatever it happens to be, and you think, yes, this is it, and then they go cold, and it's like, but when they're going hot, I think I mentioned it on the last one, when they get hot, everyone else goes cold, and then when they go cold, everyone else is still cold, and it's like, it leads to scoring droughts and stuff like that. And it's why as we said at the start of this one, we don't have that guy. Zach's not that guy, and unfortunately, at the minute, Coby's not that guy. They're both legit scorers. They can both easily get hot from three.
Yeah.
But they can also go through spells where it's like, why are they on the floor? And obviously, one of my predictions was for Coby to regress slightly in his output. And for me, last night was actually Coby's best game because he was doing a bit of everything. He led the team in steals.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, led the team in turnovers.
Lots of
he led the team. Yeah, led the team in made threes. And for me, last night, Zach, apart from that 9 points that he got in the fourth quarter, yeah, he was solid defensively, but I didn't see enough from him to. I mean, you take that 9 points away and he finishes with what, 17?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember them 17 points. I can remember the 9 points because everyone got excited about it. But I also remember him then turning the ball over and not chasing back.
Yep.
And that's why, for me, I didn't get that excited in that fourth quarter by what Zach was doing. And, like I say, throughout the rest of the game, apart from his effort on defense, because I don't think he was amazing defensively, there was effort there. I just don't think he'd done anything that I've not already seen from Zach. And I can't remember which podcast it was I was listening to, and someone said, and I've been told that Zach Lavine's not a winning player. And it's like, because we were obviously highlighting what he'd done last night, and it's like, well, they didn't win. So, I mean,
kind of hard to argue against it when they're not winning.
I mean, what did he finish with? 26 points last night? It was a team high in points, wasn't it? But
Zach got 26, yeah. Coby finished on 20.
Yeah.
Are you looking at the right game? Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
And Vuce had 20.
Yeah. And hardly any rebounds. But see,
how many
I thought
rebounds did he finish with? He had 8 rebounds.
Yeah.
The only player that got double-digit rebounds was Patrick Williams with his double-double.
That's just goes to show how crazy that game was.
Right.
Because, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I'll let you highlight your argument why Zach got bull of the game. And
yeah, I guess for me, what I saw with Coby, apart, like, I mean, look, there's no question about it. The two of them were streaky, right?
What's me like?
My issue with Coby was I just remember him throwing the ball away, bad passes, bad turnovers at really critical times. And like that, I found that he was fairly out of the game for the first half, really. He had a little few moments here and there, but apart from that, I just felt like he wasn't really as involved in the game as we needed him to be. Yeah, he got hot in the fourth, but I just wasn't it for me. I just remembered too many of the mistakes. They stood out more than anything else for me. And that's not to say that Zach didn't make mistakes too, because, you know, it's Zach Lavine and he does like to dribble the ball off his leg, which he did last night. But I just felt that defensively, that was the best version of Zach defensively I've seen in quite some time. And that stood out for me. He was getting back. He was trying to get in front of the ball. He was holding ground. He even tried to take it was kind of tried to take a charge at one point, which you don't normally see Zach Lavine doing. He kind of argued that he'd stayed vertical. It was questionable enough. But look, at least he had it in his head to try. And I just, you know, there's a couple of moves, a couple of shots by Zach that were pretty impressive. You know, his up and under was really impressive at one point. And he just stood out more for me in a positive light, whereas Coby kind of stood out for me more in the negative light. And that was why I kind of leant more towards Zach and didn't even put Coby in my top 3. But, you know, it was one of those games where there were probably 5 or 6 players that you could have juggled around in the top 3 anyway, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I can completely see it because Coby was irritating me early on in the game, and so I said it's this. I don't know how to describe it. It's like bouncy defense that he does, where he's like bouncing all over, but not doing anything. And
just thinking of that GIF I sent into the live feed last night. The kid bounced up down the trampoline when you said that.
I mean, I don't know if it's because of his throw or what, like flopping around when he's doing it, but it just looks really erratic, and it's kind of going a little bit like it on the offensive end as well. We know he's got the handles there. We've seen how much he's improved on that through obviously the workouts with Johnny Dribble too much and what have you. But for me, both him and Zach, and it's why I've said before I don't like them being on the team on the same team, is because they're very similar in the fact that they can dribble into the paint and then they seem to get confused with what they're meant to do. And that's where a lot of the turnovers are coming, because they're jumping into the air and it's like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Do I go for a bucket? Do I pass it? Do I try and draw the foul? And then they end up throwing it into the crowd.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that, actually, because there was at least one, if not 2 times last night where Coby was in exactly that position, and he actually had the shot. He had the layup. He had gotten to the rim, and then didn't know what to do with it and kicked it back out and lost the ball, turnover straight away, or put the ball into a passing lane and it was a dead play then, you know.
Yeah, and there was something else I had to highlight, but I can't remember what it was now.
Sorry.
more so with Coby, I think. But yeah, it's just I've not really been that impressed with Coby so far this season. I don't think I don't know if it's because he's leveled out as such, which is what we wanted to see from him. But
yeah,
I don't know.
He never starts off hot though. He has to warm up into the season.
Yeah, and
he's never quick out the gate.
I mean, the thing is, like I said, both of them can get hot, but both of them can take stupid shots, make the stupid shot choice. You know, Zach in particular, he'll, like he did last night, where he's got on this run, and it's like he forgets that he's got 4 other players there, and it's all him. And I think Coby's kind of getting into that sort of trend at the minute as well. And then all of a sudden, Coby will hit one from the logo or whatever, and it's just like, all right, fair enough. And obviously another player that we wanted to talk about, someone that has been appearing in the top 3 pretty consistently for the last week or so, I'd say, is, well, my choice for most improved, and I know you're very high on him as well, and it's obviously Dalen Terry.
Yes.
Now, we've obviously been high on DT for a lot longer than, well, anybody, to be honest.
Yes,
I know Big Dave at CHGO is quite high on him and likes his game and stuff like that, but I think if people don't look at the box score, they'd appreciate DT a lot more.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, he's averaging about 15 minutes, I think, at the minute. I know last night he only put up 4 points, but he's a spark plug. He's the energy. His defense is what gets him on the court a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But what we're also seeing from him is facilitating.
Absolutely. He's well able to pass the ball, and something we've often said about him is that his ability to pass the ball and move the ball around is something that kind of goes unnoticed, because a lot of the time it leads to hockey passes, so he doesn't pick up the assists. so it doesn't hit the box score. But he's still affecting the game in a positive way, and he definitely has a court vision that a lot of people don't seem to appreciate quite as much as possibly they should.
Yeah, and I mean he's still making silly little mistakes from time to time, and
For sure.
he fouls when you kind of think, well, why have you done that? But he's essentially still year 2? I know he's year 3, but he's essentially year 2, isn't he? Because year 1 for him was nothing, wasn't it?
Last year paid much in the NBA.
Yeah, so you kind of if you take that away, it's year 2, and last year it was obviously he found a way to get on the court towards the end, mainly due to injury, and we kind of both said that we want to see him this year.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, my bold prediction in the off season was that he was going to get more minutes and be a bit more valuable than Matas, and we're seeing that at the minute.
Mm-hmm.
Because DT gets his minutes quite early on now, and then he gets more of them, whereas Matas is getting his minutes and you don't know if you're going to see him again.
Yeah.
But for me, DT's impacting the game away from the box score, and hustle, for example, doesn't show on the box score. But how many times have you seen him diving on the floor? One thing we've always said about him is how he can chase his own shot, and he will hustle for the rebounds. There's a couple of tough rebounds he got last night, and I mean, he only ended up with, I think it was 4.4 rebounds last night in 15 minutes. But
4 points and 4 rebounds. Bang on. 2 offensive, 2 defensive.
Yeah, obviously no assists, but like you said, a lot of them tend to be hockey assists.
Yeah.
And to be fair, a lot of his passes look crazy and wild. Like, he just whips it, doesn't he? And it's like,
he does.
Jesus. It's like, that's, but one thing I've noticed with him is the game, what we wanted to see from him as well, and it is the game is starting to slow down for him.
Yeah, definitely.
You saw it a couple of times last night, and you hear Stacey saying, slow it down. And he was up the court and then realised, oh, there's nobody else with me. I need to, dribble it around and wait for everyone to catch up. And whereas in the past, he wouldn't have done that. He'd have just gone. And yeah, you want to see that side of his game improve. The offensive side, the point scoring side, the shot taking side, and stuff like that. But I've been impressed with him so far this season. And I mean, I know he's not getting a lot of minutes, but I think he's changing a lot of people's opinion. You still get the ones that say he's a bust. You still get the ones that say, he shouldn't even be in the NBA and what have you. But I think they're the box score watchers and the narrative followers from last season and the year before.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I know obviously you've been impressed with him as well.
I have been, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the one thing I've said about him from day dot is give him a minute, give him 2 minutes, give him 5 minutes, and he will make the most of the minutes on the floor. It could be crazy, it could be a bit erratic, but he will do everything he possibly can in those few minutes that he gets. And those 1, 2, 4, 5 minutes now have been increased to 15 minutes on average. And that comes from making an impact. Okay, it doesn't look anything on the box score, but when you watch him play, and if you focus on him, he's everywhere. He's getting involved in everything. He's not afraid to get his body in the way. He's built up himself up over the course of the last few years as well. And I still say that Dalen has a higher ceiling than a lot of people give him credit for. We know he's got a bit of a janky shot, right? But it's got better. But that's just not his game. His game is more than that. It's bigger than that. And I look forward to seeing him evolve more over the course of the next season, 2, 3 seasons after. I think he's going to be a real credit to this team as a role player, as a bench player. I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar or an all-star or anything like that, but every team needs those annoying irritants, and that's what he is to the opposition. But at the same time, he's also this great energy guy and personality in a positive way for his own team. And I love those kind of players anyway. It's a kind of goon-esque type players. No, I think on the feed last night, on our live stream last night, somebody referred to him as Dennis Rodman light. I can kind of see it, and we had a bit of a joke and stuff about a few nicknames and that, which I won't go into because none of them are particularly positive. But but I do kind of see him as that kind of annoying, irritating kind of a player that doesn't necessarily show up in a big way when you look at the stats, but he does show up in a big way on the floor when you pay attention to him. And for anyone that's interested in actually keeping an eye on him when he's on the floor the next time, it's worth it because he's everywhere.
Yeah, and I mean, I can get on board with the Rodman light as well. I mean, he's obviously not to the caliber that Rodman was yet. He may never be, but he's a character. He adds that bit of goon that you just mentioned. For ages, people said this Bulls team's too nice, and I imagine DT is a nice kid off the court.
Oh yeah,
but on the court, he doesn't care if you was at college with him or wherever. He is gonna. I think we saw it last year with what's his name at Pacers? Matherin. Obviously, they were teammates. Yeah, and he dunked on him and flexed over him, and it's like, yeah, that's what you want to see. You want to see somebody with that kind of drive, that kind of engine. Do you know what I mean? And they're not scared to. And that's why everyone's been excited about Matas, because they think that's what he's going to be. And it's like, we've already got it in Dalen, but people didn't want to see it in Dalen. And it's like I said in the summer, they're two players that I can see the comparisons with, because I can see what Dalen brings and I can see what Matas brings, and they're very similar. Neither of them seem to have a very good shot. They're both very energetic. They're both very confident. They both seem very capable defensively. It's just that Matas is from Chicago and gets all the love. And yeah. But it looks as if Matas's career could follow a similar path to DT's at the minute, where he doesn't get a lot of tick in his first year. Gets sat when he doesn't really make a mistake, but doesn't really do anything either. And you're kind of wondering when he's going to get his minutes next. But yeah, I'd say DT's certainly pushing at the minute as one of our standout players anyway.
Yeah. So, for me anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I've got nothing else on the last few games. I don't know if you have, or players, or whatever.
I haven't. I think, it's like you said, it's kind of what we were expecting to see is what we got. The only difference is maybe they've been that little bit more competitive finishing games than we had expected them to be. That'd be the only difference, really.
Help support the podcast and the brand at C-Red UK by heading to our merch site, where you'll find a variety of designs on things like mugs, t-shirts and hoodies, including our Bulls Ellis and Flop of the Fro, with plenty more designs still to come. Link is in the description.
So with that, we will give our predictions for the next, well, it works out to be 4 games, and before we hopefully record again. Obviously, first up is the New York Knicks tomorrow night at Madison Square Garden. I'm just trying to get everything up now. Knicks are actually playing tonight against Sixers as well, so they will be on second of a back-to-back, and that is in Philly as well. So I know it's not a lot of travel, but
not very far, but yeah.
Yeah. And at the minute, Knicks are 4-5 on the season. I'd imagine that extends to 5-5 because they've got Sixers who are not doing very well. But
falling apart.
yeah, and it is actually a cup game for them tonight as well. So
Okay.
maybe a little bit more incentive to go harder in that one. Who knows? But it's Knicks, isn't it? And we've not done all that great against them recently. Obviously, it'll be the first time we go against them with Karl Anthony Towns.
Yep.
We've seen something from Zach today saying that he's going to try and take him off his game and say a few things to him, and hopefully
They're good friends, right?
Yeah, they spent 2 years at Timberwolves together, didn't they?
Yeah,
Best
I knew
2
they were
years of
together in
his career.
Timberwolves, but I think they came away kind of good pals, like good friends.
So obviously it was all kind of tongue in cheek, I'd have thought, from Zach. But
yeah,
I mean, if it works, it works. But I mean, the player for me that you got to watch with Knicks is Brunson.
Oh yeah, hands down.
The one thing that annoys me with Brunson, and it's something that Coby got called for. I can't remember what game it was in, but I mentioned it to you. Whether it was in the live thread or in the chat, I can't remember which one it was. Because Coby got called for an offensive foul for basically stopping and been sort of ran into from the back.
Yeah.
Brunson does that more than anybody. And it's so irritating because he gets the call in his favour. And that's kind of, for me, I think the game's going to be won at the free throw line. And it's going to be Knicks that get to the free throw line a lot more than Bulls. Purely because that's what Jalen Brunson does. So yeah, my prediction is that we lose tomorrow.
Okay.
Tonight, as you listen.
Well, let's make it interesting then. I'm going to say with them being on the second night of a back-to-back, and with it being a cup game, so they might have actually tried a bit harder, and with their iffy season anyway, I'm going to say we're going to take that from them in the Garden.
But Tibbs and 48 minutes.
Yeah.
They're
exactly. So he'll have already played them all for 48 minutes the night before.
Yeah, but they're used to it.
Yeah, true. That's true.
But yeah, I'll write you down for a double then.
Yeah.
Cavs on, is it Friday night? I think in it for us. Saturday morning. Friday night, I can't remember now.
Friday night, Saturday morning.
Yeah,
cup game.
It's our first cup game as well.
Yeah.
Obviously in Cleveland, which nobody wants to go there.
Nope.
I imagine Bulls definitely don't want to go there because, well, not doing very well against them in the league recently. Obviously, we are the last team to beat them in pre-season.
Right.
Could have beat them last night. Should have beat them last night. However you want to word it. I know you've got possibly a different outlook on it to me, but Cavs currently, well, obviously last night extended their run to 12-0. Obviously unbeaten so far.
It's only the 8th team to do it, I think, in NBA history, isn't it?
Yeah, one of them been Bulls as well.
Yeah, of course.
And they face Sixers tomorrow as well, in Philly. So they could possibly be 13-0. They could be 12-1. Who knows? But yeah, for me, it's another L. I just can't see us. But then Jarrett Allen left last night, didn't he? So if he's out,
yeah, he didn't look comfortable.
Yeah, if he's out, Vooch, career game.
Fill his boots.
P will career game.
Okay.
You heard it here first. Is it? Not going to take a lot, but
20-11 game.
Yeah. What are you saying?
Go on. No, I'm gonna go for a dub. Yeah, no, I am. I called it from the very beginning. I said that we would lose at home, to the Cavs, and then, in full Bulls logic, go on and beat them away, and that's what I'm going to stick with that. And I still kind of feel like that's what could happen. I think we've proved that we are capable of keeping up with them, and it's very difficult to keep winning game after game after game after game. At some point, they've got to drop their first game. I think there's a very good chance of them beating the Sixers, unless that's a trap game for them. So if they do come away with a win against the Sixers, I think that only bolsters the chances of us taking that game against them in Cleveland.
Yeah. Sunday, we've got Houston Rockets at the UC. Rockets currently 5-4. They face Clippers tomorrow, who are also 5-4. Just trying to see if they've got another game before that. Sure, they will have. Yeah, they've got Clippers again in the cup as well. That one says they're 7-4. I don't know what their record is. It's changed from day to day. But yeah, anyway, I know they had a better record than us last season. Good young up and coming team.
Yeah, I like the way they play. Actually, I enjoy the Rockets.
Seem to be led pretty well by Şengün, who would probably give Vooch fits because tends to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say we get the win, but I don't think we do. I just don't think we've got enough. You know, I don't think we've seen enough from our young core compared to what their young core is doing, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm saying 3 L's in a row. Well, it'd be 4 L's, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, no, I'm calling this one a loss as well. Yeah, I just don't think we can cope with this Rockets team the way it's structured right now. Okay, we're playing faster now than we did last season, where we would struggle against the youth of their team and the speed at which they played. But I just find that Şengün just locks Vooch up, and once he's healthy, which he's currently is, then I don't see us taking this game.
Yeah. And then Monday, second of a back-to-back in Detroit to face the Pistons, who are currently 4-7, same as Bulls. Obviously, they're going to have games ahead of that as well.
Yeah.
Like I say, we will be coming in on a back-to-back. I'm just seeing if Pistons are on one as well. I very much doubt. Oh yeah, they're playing Wizards when we play Rockets in Washington as well. So both teams on a back-to-back. That maybe changes things slightly. Obviously, we're going to have slightly less travel because we're going from Chicago to Detroit. They're going from Washington to Detroit. So, but Cade Cunningham is started the season pretty well. I think he did he get back-to-back triple doubles?
Did he? I hadn't heard that actually.
Now I know they're on a back-to-back. That changes things slightly for me, and I'm going to say we get the win.
Yeah. All right then. Just to keep things I was going to say win, but just to keep things colourful, I'll go for a loss.
All right. So I've gone 3 L's, 1 dub. You've gone. Well, you've split it 50-50.
Yeah, 2-2.
Yeah. Obviously, things can change. Obviously, game by game, player injuries. We might get an update on Lonzo. I think they're going to try getting him back dribbling the ball for a start.
Didn't he start dribbling already? I think he started dribbling already, or they were talking about him starting today.
Yeah, I think I'd seen that they took his brace off, but
he
hadn't started dribbling, and it was that was the next stage, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, a wrist injury, you think he's kept his fitness side of it up, because he can still, go on a bike or whatever it happens to be. So,
yeah, the last report I heard was that his knee has not been giving him any problems whatsoever. Yeah. It's just purely the wrist.
So, I mean, as soon as they can make sure that his wrist is strong enough, I guess, and that it's not going to cause any further injuries, he'll be back in the lineup, I'd have thought, to get his minutes off the bench. So who knows? That could be as soon as next week. But knowing Bulls, 6 to 8 weeks. Knowing Lonzo, we never see him again.
Ever the optimist.
Everyone knows my thoughts on Lonzo Ball.
I know.
But yeah, I've got nothing else. I don't know if you
have. No, I don't think I do, actually. No.
One more thing. Onur Bitim has got a new team. He's joined Fenerbahce in Turkey, which I think is a bit of a dream come true for him. I think his family's got history through that team in maybe different sports or whatever. But he is actually going out on loan to Bayern, FC Bayern, or whatever they're called, Bayern Basketball in Germany. And them two teams actually played tonight. I don't know where Bitim is, somewhere in between. I think maybe Bayern take him back to Germany with him. I don't know. But yeah, as we kind of said, kind of expected him back in Europe. And well, there he is. And good luck to him. As I've said, I'll be following his journey because he is a player that I like, and I think he's more set for the European leagues than the NBA. But yeah, on that note, like I say, we should be back at some point next week after them games. And as always, I've been Matt. You can follow me on Twitter at MattCRedUK, and you can follow us on all the socials at CRedUK.
And I'm on Twitter at NeillCRedUK. Thanks to the Fans First Sports Network and, of course, all of CRedUK Nation for tuning in and being a part of this great community. Do remember, it's a Chicago Bulls thing wherever you are in the world. Until next time, see Red people and go Bulls.